Education. Education starts with the beginner. It's not a one-day course, it's not a two-day course. In the United States, we start probably at the age of 15. It's part of the curriculum of our high schools. And for 2 weeks, you're in a car with a driver instructor. You still don't get to drive at the end of that time period. At the end of that 2 weeks, you get a learner's permit. You're allowed for the next year to ride with an adult who's over the age of 21, and you can drive as long as they're in the car with you. Now, once you turn 16, you can apply for your license, take an exam. If you pass the exam, then you get your driver's license issued to you. Our education system is basically on the premise of defensive driving, trying to look out for the other guy. We try to anticipate ahead, and I'll go into that a little bit more. But the education system can't be just a rubber stamp, that once you've completed this, that you automatically get to drive. There's got to be exams and practical tests and an examination at the end so that you are qualified to drive. And at times, at different ages, there's periodic retesting of you. As your eyesight gets older and you start to fail, there are requirements in the United States in some jurisdictions that you are re-examined. Not only your eyesight, but your driving habits and techniques and your knowledge of the driving violations. Defensive driving, for us, is trying to anticipate what the other guy is going to do. Planning ahead. If you're coming up on an exit, which I see many times, and the United States is not immune to this, instead of planning ahead, you'll get a car that's over in the left-hand lane from you, and all of a sudden he cuts over across from in front of you to go up an exit ramp. That's not planning ahead, but you see it quite a bit. So trying to look ahead and anticipate what problems or hazards are ahead of you is what we consider defensive driving. Offensive driving. These are the guys that are in their own little kingdom inside their cars. It's the one piece of power and control that they have that they feel secure in, and it's their own little kingdom. So they're going to protect that kingdom, and they don't care about anybody else on the road. They just want to get from one point to the next point. And they're only worried about themselves. Pass or don't pass. I see it a lot. I see it a lot in the United States, too. A double yellow line in the United States means that you're not supposed to pass, but I see it all the time because people get into a hurry. I see it here, too. But we couple all this education and the legislation together with civic responsibility. The media, corporate entities, and the public themselves have a responsibility because we're all in this together. We all have to share the road, so it benefits each one of us to also push these issues that involve traffic safety. They can be in public service announcements, campaigns against drunk driving, seatbelt laws, promoting child seats, the use of cell phones, and the courtesy of the road, allowing others to go first or waiting on people and letting them into line. And third, corporate responsibility. Corporations that produce alcohol, produce cars, have a responsibility to the community to provide them with public service announcements, warning them on the dangers that they could face. This is just an example of some public service announcements and some programs that I found on the internet in the States. A drunk driver injures somebody every 48 seconds in the United States. That's pretty significant. Drunk driving is a problem there. Other campaigns are in conjunction with the media and the police. Together, they come up with these driving campaigns and these advertisements to try to persuade people not to drive drunk. This one I especially like. You can choose your form of transportation. If you're too drunk to drive your own vehicle, or you can take a cab. If you are caught driving your own vehicle, you're probably going to be picked up by the police. You could wind up in an ambulance or worse. Distractions. Distractions are bad now for us. As the technology increases, we want to use it in more places. Time has become essential to all of us. We need to get more done in a short period of time, and we have more avenues to be able to do that. Generation text. Everybody's texting. Well, you're texting when you're driving. Is that a good idea? Does that look familiar? Cell phones and cars, they don't mix well. This one I couldn't resist putting in here. Every society has a problem with cell phones and traffic, no matter what you drive. Multitasking. In this day of technology, we have laptop computers, we have cell phones. I couldn't resist this commercial. It's got a guy who's explaining to the police officer that he was using his laptop in the car to communicate and do some work. He spilled his cup of coffee on it while he was on his cell phone, but it wasn't his fault. I saw this guy on the way over here. And this one, although it's not clear, two friends are trying to make arrangements to meet later. They wind up meeting on the road. Car seats. I see a lot of kids in back seats of cars without any restraints on them at all here. And it's not the initial impact of an accident that actually hurts people. It's the secondary impacts on the inside of the car. Once the car stops, everything inside the car starts moving. That has an effect and causes a lot of injuries. The Brittany car seat. Presidents are not immune to it either. Even now. So protect the ones you love. Corporate responsibility. Absolute Vodka has put out this ad on, well, the risks that you take when you drink and drive. So they've accepted some of the responsibility for the product that they produce, but to give it back to the community by pushing legislation and campaigns against drunk driving. Molson also. So just to sum it up, if you combine legislation and enforcement with education and some civic responsibility, that it's not just the government's problem or the police's problem, it's everybody's problem, and point that out and try to condition people into taking responsibility for themselves, that helps with traffic safety. It's not the end solution, but it's one way to go. Thank you.